This is a bit of a different episode as we're going to strictly focus on the Mets and the Yankees and do a spring training preview of sorts. And then we'll do a more detailed MLB type of things, predictions before the season starts. And like I mentioned, I recorded with Larry yesterday from when we're recording, and we'll throw it over to that segment a little bit later on. But let's start with the Mets because there seems to be a lot of things happening here, and a lot of things happened today at spring training, and we'll kind of we will get into that almost right away here. But here's the thing: here's a reminder from last year, just to recap. The Mets go 83 and 79, finished 13 games behind the Phillies for second place in the NL East. And while the Mets technically finished in the tie for the last wild card with the Reds, Cincinnati held the tiebreaker, and that is what got them into the playoffs at the end of the day. We all know by now, I don't need to reiterate it, but I'm sure it'll come up as we have this discussion here, that the Mets made major changes to both the coaching staff and the roster itself in the off season. So let's start with what happened today. Because Steve Cohen was at Mets camp this morning making his rounds, and there were a few things. God, this is why I wish Lee J was here because I know how much he hates Steve Cohen. We'll have to get his thoughts. We'll have to get his thoughts next week. So there are three things here that before we jumped on, I made sure to note here about what Cohen said. Number one, and this is probably the thing that was getting the most traction about that there will not be a captain on this team for as long as he owns the team. He basically expects the players to figure it out in the clubhouse. And this is his quote: as long as I'm owning the team, there will never be a team captain. That was my decision. My view is the locker room is unique and let the locker room sort it out year in, year out. There will never be a captain. I felt that way all along. Let me hear your thoughts on this because I don't know. I'm of two minds in this whole thing because we grew up in an era where there were captains, right? We talked about last week Keith Hernandez and Gary Carter, and then later on, like John Franco was the captain, and then for most of the time that David Wright was at the Mets, he was the captain, and we haven't had one since. And for as long as Cohen's going to be here, which I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, he's gonna. There's not going to be a captain for the Mets here. But what are your thoughts on this whole captain situation?
First, I call BS on what Steve Cohen said that he always thought about this as being
Oh, really? Okay, you
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
BS?
because
Okay,
the captain talk happened started last year.
that's true.
So if you weren't going to name a captain, you could have said last year, guys, I don't believe in captains, and blah 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 blah. So
Mhm.
I think what happened was some riff in the clubhouse last year.
Yeah, bro, and we'll get to that later.
It
Yeah,
had to whether it was Nimmo. They talked about there were political breakups within
yeah, I
the
saw that.
team,
Yeah.
all that nonsense. But maybe Nimmo wanted to be the captain, and or Pete, and
Mhm.
some people wanted Lindor. So that's when he could have came out and said, "No, I just don't believe in captains." It the locker room works itself out, and that I agree with. You know who your captains are, even without even
Yeah,
having to name a captain.
I agree with that.
I go back to when me and you were in high school. When we were seniors, we were named captains. But
Right.
honestly, junior years and stuff like that, I was acting like I was a captain because that's just the way I was when it came to playing baseball.
Right. Yeah.
So that the locker room works itself out when it comes time to like knowing who's the go-to guys. Like I'm sure last year a lot of people went to Marte, Juan Sono being one of them.
Mhm.
So everybody has their own guy that they go to for leadership and things like that. So I don't really mind the not having a captain type of thing. we all know, by example, we could figure out who goes to who as to get,
Sure.
advice and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but as far as going back to what Steve Cohen said, that he always thought like this, I think that's BS. I just think something happened in the locker room last year, some beef where those rumors came out that Lindor was going to be named the next captain,
Right.
and there
Yep.
was some beef in that locker room. So I just think Cohen is like, you know what, we're not going to deal with this anymore. You guys manage yourselves, and then there isn't going to be a so-called quote unquote captain.
Yeah, yeah, because if people recall, some video leaked last year that showed Lindor being named the captain, right?
Mhm.
And people thought that that was going to happen after the David Wright
Ceremony.
retirement
Yeah.
ceremony with the number ceremony, and it never came to be. And a lot of people had questions about it. And then everything comes out in the off season about, and we'll get into that because Lindor and Soto were asked about that on yesterday, as a matter of fact, because they both reported for the first time yesterday. So yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people saying online today about I don't really necessarily care about the captain situation. Just fucking win,
Exactly.
which is fair.
Yeah.
I think we're all at a point that people are frustrated, fans are frustrated, fans are frustrated about what happened last year. We're seeing. I know Diaz had some stuff over the weekend and Cohen, and they were kind of going back and forth through the media about what happened in those negotiations. I don't know, man. I don't think the real story's out there yet, but I do think a little bit is starting to come out here and there.
Yeah.
So to jump off of that, talking about being frustrated, Cohen did say that he is getting frustrated by how long it's taking for the Mets to win a championship. Because if you guys remember, when he bought the team in 2019, he said 5 years.
Mhm.
This is year 6. Now, you want to not count the 2020 season? I'll kind of give you that. I'll give you that one. So maybe if you want to say this is the 5th year, the 5th full year, okay. So this is what he says. Every year that goes by, I get frustrated. I'm really committed to this team, and I know how much the fans care. I know we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of 1986, and that's just too long. There's a lot of great teams no matter what you do. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the World Series, but I just want to put myself in the position every year in the playoffs where we have a chance with a really good team. Let's pause there. Your thoughts on him, on what he said with that, because we are getting frustrated. It's 40 years, and I always think
Right.
back when he said this, bro. I remember the conversation we had earlier about when we used to go to the games,
Mhm.
and it was what at that point. How many years was it? 10.
10 years.
And we were like, can you
He's like,
believe it now?
man, could you
30
believe it's 10
years.
years? Yeah.
30 years later, we're still waiting.
Still
Oh my
waiting.
God, it's insane.
Still waiting. Yeah, I mean, I thought about that too when that came up. And it's crazy how time flies. But man, I mean, listen, we're all frustrated, bro. We're coming up on a 40-year anniversary of 86.
Oh
As
God.
much as I love Gary Carter, as much as I love those 86 Mets, I am tired of talking about them
Yes.
because that's all we have, bro.
Yeah.
I would like to make some new memories, make some new World Series memories.
Mhm.
And if he's frustrated, imagine how the fans are. So he needs to, I don't want to say, put his money where his mouth is because he does spend money.
'Cause he is right. He does.
Um,
Right. Yes.
maybe sometimes he doesn't do it wisely, but he still spends the money. But yeah, I mean, he's. I think what Steve Cohen is trying to do this year is, as far as like the PR type of thing, is that he's trying to put himself in the Mets fan shoes, just
Mhm.
so he doesn't get criticized. Because
Interesting.
I'm sure he's going to get Edwin Diaz leaving criticism, Pete Alonso leaving criticism. So
Mhm.
he's expecting that. So I just think he's just putting on the good buzzwords for PR to try to get Met fans on his side, like Lee J.
I
Lee
don't think
J,
it's
get
gonna.
on his
I
side,
don't,
Lee
I don't think it's gonna work.
J.
I think it's going to work for Lee J. Yeah, I mean, he did. Somebody did ask him about the Dodgers, and
Mm,
I didn't write that down here, but he basically said, he's paying attention to what the Dodgers are doing. He's pro ownership, but he said he hasn't decided whether or not, in his mind, a salary cap is a good thing or a bad thing, right?
mm,
But he did say the Dodgers spend the money, and he made the point. And don't forget, so do I. So again, it's not like he's not spending the money, right?
mhm.
He is spending the money. They were going to give Kyle Tucker a lot of money,
Yeah.
and that didn't happen. He ends up going to the Dodgers for relatively the same amount of money in some ways. So we can't say that Cohen is not spending money. I guess the question is going to be, and this is something that Lee J always brings up, is whether Stearns is the guy to make this all happen. And my thing is, if Stearns is not the guy, then what?
Mm,
Because I still think that Stearns is in some ways, but the thing is, like, okay, if this has not worked out with him, where else do you go? I'm sure there are other executives out there that can come in and be able to handle this. But then the problem with that is that you're starting over again from scratch with a new philosophy,
yeah.
right? A new drafting philosophy, a new, this all run prevention shit. Okay, somebody else has a different way of doing things. So
Mhm.
I don't know, man. I do agree with you about the PR thing. I think that is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that he said, I don't know if you were going to get into this, but he said something about the difference in the atmosphere in spring training.
I do have that here. Yes. Let me
So
read his quote
go
first.
ahead,
Hold
go
on.
ahead.
He says, "I feel like there's a different energy here this year. I'm excited about the quality of players we brought in, and I think the fans will be excited about them too." Continue, sir.
So he said the atmosphere is different, better, whatever he wants to say. So that brings a question mark because 2024 into 2025, 2024, you made on that long playoff run
Yes.
into the offseason for 2025. There should be good expectations. You sign Juan Soto.
Right. Yes. Right.
So you combine that, you combine a long playoff run, Juan Soto, you would think the atmosphere in spring training would be a good atmosphere.
Hmm.
Obviously, it wasn't for whatever the case may be. What you could say Juan Soto's, new to the Mets, wasn't comfortable. The players didn't know him well or whatever. Nowadays, these players all know each other, man. It's not like American League never played the National League and vice versa.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't. There was again going back to the whole locker room thing. Something happened in that locker room where the atmosphere wasn't good, and the players, did a complete 180 from 2024 to 2025.
Yeah, I've seen, again, as a person that loves to look at the comments. It's just kind of funny how, now that we're in spring training and we're seeing all these videos, everybody's like
Uh,
hyped.
yeah.
We're all hyped now, Yeah, baseball, baby. Everybody's hyped now. We're not even talking about fucking Peter Alonso and Edwin Diaz anymore, to an extent. But I will say this: two things that I saw that I keep on seeing being repeated over and over again, and one of these things has been repeated since last year. Iglesias, right?
Mm.
Oh, we should have brought him back, because he was like the guy that like kept everybody loose and everything was fun. Guys, there was not room on him. There was not room for him on this team, especially when you consider the glut of young guys
Mhm.
that were eventually on this team. Whether you're talking about Beatty, Vientos, Acuna, who's not here anymore, obviously, Mauricio, and who I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? Am I
Jet
missing
Williams
anybody?
when he was
And
on the
Jet
team.
Williams, who's not here anymore, right?
Yeah.
Um, there was no room for Iglesias on this team, and that's it. That was a business decision. So that's number one. Number two is, to your point, Soto. Soto this, Soto that. Is Soto the one causing the bad vibes? I don't think so, because where was the bad vibes when the Yankees were in the American League Championship Series in 2024?
Mhm.
I just, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I think with so much pressure on Soto with the big contract and coming across town to the Mets, I do think that made a difference in some respects. But I think to your point, you got to adapt. Soto, he's been around for forever now
Hmm.
at this point, and I do think again, not to look into the videos too much that are coming out from spring training, but I'm seeing Soto. He
More
looks like he's
comfortable.
more comfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You see him messing around with Alvarez. There was a video today that him and Carson Benz were coming off the field together after doing outfield drills. So I think what we're starting to see now is Soto starting to take that leadership thing a little bit more seriously, especially because guess what? Alonso's not here anymore.
Yeah.
Diaz is not here anymore. So the guy that's making all this money has got to step up to take over some of that leadership
Yeah,
responsibility.
I mean, if he's up for it, yeah. I never looked at Soto as a leader per se, but
Yeah,
hey,
neither
if
have I.
if
Yeah,
that's the role that he wants to do, great, man. That shows that he's more mature and stuff like that. And just going back to the stuff that you heard from last year, where Soto is an all business type of guy, man. I
yeah, he
laugh
is.
I
He
laugh
is.
because the normal, and guys, I'm not being racist. I'm Dominican. Um, the the normal Dominican player loves to, let's just say, be honest, party it up,
Yeah,
flashy, things like
yeah,
that. Soto
sure.
is not like that. Soto is
Yeah,
like, I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna go to the batting cage, and this and that. I'm not about going out, and that's just how Soto is. So
yeah,
maybe that clash with Lindor and his fashion and whoever else wanted to go out and stuff at night. But hey, I honestly I rather have more Lindors on my team than have a guy, having a guy that's going to stay focused and work out to his craft. That's why he's so damn good. So I have no problem with that. So you as a player, because listen, not every team needs to be kumbaya, get along to win. The
right.
86 Mets
Yeah,
proved that. You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
the 70 something Yankees, 78 Yankees, they all hated each other and they won the
Right.
championship. So we don't all need to be in a circle singing kumbaya. We could get along, and still win, just not hating each other is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
No, I agree, and it's funny you mentioned because I think about you know Juan Soto's no Sammy Sosa as far as his personality is concerned.
Hmm.
We saw all the shit that Sosa used to do when he hit a home run and comes back to the dugout and do the whole,
Yeah.
pounding his. You don't see that from Soto,
Oh,
and he reluctantly does the thing last year where goes to the camera.
yes.
He didn't want to do that.
Hmm.
What I mean? He's like I don't want to. This is get me back into the dugout. Let me go up the tunnel to kind of see what my at bat looked like. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. Now, I will say this: did that rub me a little bit the wrong way last year? Yes, but you know what the thing was? We didn't know what was going on.
Hmm.
We did not know what he was doing going up the tunnel and to the back. He was looking at his at bats.
Yeah.
You know, so like now having that understanding, yeah, it's a little bit more. It's more forgivable now versus what we thought was happening. That he was disinterested last year. He didn't care. He missed the Yankees. Blah blah blah. Oh boy, I don't want to hear that shit again this year. That's over with.
You
That
heard that,
that
Danny?
that- yeah, Danny, you're the biggest culprit with that shit. Oh, okay. So let's go. Let's talk about the clubhouse situation a little bit because both Soto and Lindor did report to Port St. Lucie on yesterday for the first time. And listen, they were both asked about it. Lindor and Soto were. By the way, just the people who don't know, Lindor had surgery on his hamate bone, and he's been in a cast at spring training. So hopefully he is good to go by opening day. But he's there in camp. He's hanging out. He's doing what he's doing. He was. I don't know if you saw they were taking. He was taking pictures today with one of those fancy cameras. But they asked both Lindor and Soto about the clubhouse situation from last year because, as we all know, and we talked about this a few weeks back, there was a report. I think it was from the Post about issues in the clubhouse last year and things that Nimmo said when he first got interviewed when he went to the got traded to the Texas Rangers. So I'm not gonna. I didn't put the quotes down here, but I do know Lindor tackled it a bit more head on than Soto did. I think he said something to the effect of, we get,
That was last year.
yeah, that was last year. We get along. We all love each other. We're all rooting for each other. Blah blah blah. Whereas Soto kind of brushed it off. I just don't think he's comfortable enough as far as talking about something like that. But this is, I hate to say it, for better or worse, this is something that people are going to be paying attention to this year.
Oh, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Unfortunately.
Camera's gonna be on panning on them when they're in the dugout. It's gonna be unbelievable.
No, I think you're right. What did you make about the way each Lindor and Soto handled that questioning on Sunday yesterday?
Yeah, I kind of like the way Soto did it, where Soto was like, "Listen, that was last year. You don't want to bring up old beef, especially on a new team with so many new guys. The new guys don't want to hear none of that shit. They weren't there last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think what Soto did was the right thing, where it's just like, guys, that was last year. I'm not even worried about it, so on and so forth. And then, like you said, Lindor didn't really want to talk about it at all. He kind of maneuvered his way around the question. So I don't know, man. I just think one of these days it's going to come out exactly what happened.
It will.
Then,
oh yeah.
And then somebody's going to write a tell-all book or an interview or some bullshit, and then we'll know exactly what the hell happened. But I think the right move is to just say, guys, I know the reporters are there to do a job, but they're like, guys,
sure, yeah,
I'm not going to answer that question because those players are not on this team anymore. Obviously, the problem was the guys that aren't here anymore. Obviously, and maybe you could
think so.
I think Lindor had something to do with it, but Lindor is your superstar shortstop. Yeah. It's easier to get rid of Nimmo and McNeil than it is to get rid of Lindor, and then you have to, as Stearns and Cohen has to get on the mic and say, why did you just trade your superstar shortstop?
Right.
When it's easier to trade, even though Nimmo was a long life Met, people will be like, oh, they were pissed off for a week, and then they're like, all right, I get it. So I think part of the problem, the issues, are already gone. Whether it be, Nimmo, again, we talked about this in earlier podcasts where Nimmo, it comes out like as one of the sweetest dudes ever, but you don't know things that he could say in the locker room that could rub people the wrong way.
Right, behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors. So I don't know, man. I hopefully, and then we know McNeil was a hothead anyway. Mm-hmm. And McNeil wasn't good enough to be a hothead. So he had to go also.
Bro, you know what's funny? I totally forgot about Jeff McNeil until you just mentioned him.
Exactly. That's my point. He wasn't that good.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
For somebody who was with the team, talking about a lifelong Met.
Yeah.
Because he was, it's just, that is fucking insane. I did not even think about Jeff McNeil until wow. That, again, but you're right. That just goes to show you. I've been ready to move on from him for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question. Do you think Alonso was a problem?
I think I don't want to per se say a problem, but I hear so many people talk about like his, his attitude, where it's just like kind of like a frat boy type attitude.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
And that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. I don't see how big doofy polar bear like Pete Alonso would piss anybody off, but again, something happens in the locker room where you don't know. So the guys aren't here anymore. The only one I would say is Diaz. Diaz I don't think he had any problems with anybody. He just went for the more money and tried to win a championship. So, but the other, the core guys are not here anymore, or some of the core, two of the or three. You could consider McNeil maybe a core, semi-core.
I would consider him. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to consider him a core guy, then three core guys are gone now. And Lindor's still here.
You know who knows everything? I keep on saying this. Steve Gelbs.
Steve Gelbs, yeah.
That motherfucker knows everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's not going to say anything because he can't.
No. And he was perplexed as anybody when all these guys were leaving.
Right.
I
Yes.
remember during the winter meetings, he was on every day. He's like, I can't
Yeah.
believe this. I can't
Yeah.
believe that. So,
Maybe he was playing it up.
yeah.
He was
Who knows?
kayfabing. He was kayfabing us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Guys, if you don't know what that means, go look it up. I'm not going to
Tune into the other podcast.
Yeah, yeah. When we get that going. Right. Okay, so I've got four things here, and we can talk about these things as much or as little as we want. But one of the things I did want to go over is because outside of this clubhouse chemistry thing, what do we think is going to be the biggest storyline going forward, especially into spring training and into the beginning of the season? There are four things here that I wrote for Eric and I to think about. Was pitching, defense, and those two can go together in some ways because
Hmm.
what Stearns talks about this run prevention stuff that Lee J loves so much. The bullpen and the offense. One thing I did not put down here, and it's also something that we could throw in. How much of a difference is his new coaching staff going to have? Because think about it, everybody's gone except for Mendoza. He's
Hmm.
the only one left, which is I'll get into that because I have a question for you a little bit later on. So, of these four things, what do you think to you personally might be the biggest thing to watch out for, especially in spring training?
Oh man. Um, can I say all four? No.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Well,
I,
let's see. Yeah, we can kind of combine this and say, what's the one big thing that to look out for, and
Mhm.
then if that's your biggest concern as well, because I had that here as well, you can say that it's your biggest concern this spring heading into opening day.
So I'm glad that they traded for Peralta. So that kind of helps with
Yes,
the starting
yes,
pitching.
agreed.
Because what my
Yes,
concern was, and we'll go over this when we talk about our next topic.
yes,
My concern was McLean having all the pressure
yes,
leading into this season. So I'm glad that Freddie Peralta, makes that number one spot. Um, the defense, you want to say they improved the defense? Okay, fine. The defense looks better. First base, though, who the hell
yeah.
is playing first base?
I have no
Because
idea.
eh, I saw us talking. You want to talk about spring training videos? Polanco looks so uncomfortable trying to scoop balls at first base. That video that I saw, he
Oh
just
God,
not.
I didn't
He
see
just
that one.
not did. And I know he's a second baseman, shortstop, so he has the tools to do it.
Hands. Yeah,
He
yeah,
has the
yeah.
hands, but that just looked uncomfortable to me. And that's what
Right.
goes back to people think that just because you're an athlete, you could play first base. Yeah, just because you play shortstop. Not
Yeah.
the, not Ask Keith Fernandez how easy first base is.
Right.
Um, so I can see up the middle. Okay,
Yep.
Luis Roberts is a really good center fielder.
Yeah.
What's the dude at second base? My mind is going.
Marcus Simeon.
Marcus Simeon. He's supposed to be a Gold Glove caliber second baseman. He'll be better than McNeil. He'll be better than I think Acuna was the better glove back then at second base.
Yes, I agree.
Beatty, they have Beatty bouncing around, so I still don't know what position Beatty's playing.
Hmm.
So he's not playing third base. We got Bo Bichette.
Right.
He's not playing second base. We got Simeon. Is he going to be in right field now instead of Carson Bench? You're going to, they're both lefties, so you're not going to platoon them. So I don't understand. I mean, at least Beatty showed. I mean, and we on this podcast we talk a lot of junk about Beatty,
Yes, we
but
have.
last year I want to say hopefully he turned the corner. He looked pretty decent, but now you don't have a position for him. So what is it going to be? Is he going to be a DH? Then what you're going to do with Polanco / Vientos?
Right.
So I still don't know what the hell they're going to do with Beatty, but that's a story for another thing. The defense, okay, besides first base, I think is going to be better. Moving Soto to left, I think it's a good thing. Um,
Hmm.
Bullpen. So I spoke about this many episodes ago when I people were bitching about Pete Alonso leaving, and I was bitching about Edwin Diaz leaving.
Right. Yes.
So we got to see how Devin Williams and Luke Weaver hopefully improves that back. Well, I don't want to even. You can't say improve. You can't do any
Mhm.
better than Edwin Diaz did.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't. The bullpen is still a question mark to me. And as far as the offense, it's we'll see. That's all I can say because you got to replace Pete. You got to place 35 home runs. And not necessarily you need to replace those home runs, but if you and I see where Stearns' vision of more on guys that are on base, more guys that are gonna put up a good at bat. I see that.
Right. Because
The
that's been a
po-
problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
Bichette, Polanco, guys like that, they'll battle. They'll
Hmm.
draw a walk if they need to.
Right.
So I don't necessarily see them replacing those 34, 35 and 120 something RBIs. I just think they're going to do it a little different as far as like, hopefully you get more clutch hitting and go by that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the reason why Bichette's here, and to Soto's credit, somebody did ask him on Sunday about how he feels that Alonso's not there anymore. It's hitting behind him. And, he made it about Bichette.
Hmm.
He immediately said, well, I got Bo Bichette now hitting behind me. He hits for power, he hits home runs. So he's not even really like that concerned about it. But
Hmm.
I man, I think golly, I'm gonna say the defense for me is probably the biggest thing. And I brought this up a few weeks back because, and to your point about Polanco, you've got guys now that are playing out of position, right? Somebody was making a comment about that. Bichette does not look comfortable at third base. And I'm like, oh boy. So you've got like him playing, you got Bichette at third. You don't really know who's going to be at first base. I am okay with up the middle, right? Like you said, Marcus Simeon and Lindor, and I'm okay with Luis Robert, and I'm okay with Soto at in left field. But who's going to play right field? And
Hmm.
here's the thing: it's tougher to play right field at City Field
Yeah, it's
because
huge.
it's deeper gaps, it's bigger. So I'm actually glad that Soto's going to left field. To be
Yeah.
quite honest with you, so I don't have a problem with that. I don't know anything about Carson Bench. I don't. You know, I don't know if he's going to be the guy to be able to do to play out there. So that's another like another consideration. But man, I tell you what, Stearns talked up and down about run prevention, run prevention, run prevention. I'm not saying you have to have a top five defense, but you better be better than average
Yeah.
because if not, the fans are going to let you know about it at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
And before we logged on, I saw they signed Mike Talkman to a minor league deal.
Oh, I did see that. Yes,
So
yes,
I
yes,
think
yes.
I believe he plays first base. So that's an insurance for if it
I
doesn't work out with Polanco.
see. This makes me think that I wonder because there was that rumor a few weeks back about a couple of weeks ago about Vientos getting traded to the Pirates, right? Was it? It was Vientos, right? That was
What? I didn't hear that one. No, really?
Was it somebody that was like some kind of rumor about somebody getting traded to the Pirates from the Mets? Was it either Vientos or Beatty?
Hmm.
Um,
For
I can't
what?
remember who it was. I think it was going to be for a pitcher. But it hasn't panned out because here we are in spring training and both those guys are there. I
Mhm.
wonder. I wonder if there is a trade though that's in the making because why would you sign this guy?
Yeah.
Is there? Are you going to get rid of either Vientos or Beatty? Is that on the docket right now? So I don't know. Um, I actually think the offense will be fine. I think my concern is just pitching and defense, really,
Yeah.
because I think at the end of the day that they do win championships. At the end of the day, especially the pitching, if you're going against the Dodgers,
Yeah.
because I think it's safe to say that if anybody's going to be coming out of the NL
Mhm.
in general for the World Series, you're going to have to beat the Dodgers in the playoffs to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the situation at the end of the day. So I would kind of rank it defense, pitching, bullpen, and then offense. I feel like the offense is the least of my concerns at the moment. There are guys in this team that can hit, you
Yeah,
know.
I agree.
Um,
I would
yeah,
say for me it would be starting pitching, bullpen, defense, and then offense. That's how I would rank it. As far as like the most important to me to the least important. What I think is going to be good, and what not.
I think we just lost Eric, or maybe we did
Uh
not.
oh, do we freeze?
You still there? You're frozen on me.
I think we're
Uh
frozen.
oh. Let me pause this.
Well, we're having some technical difficulties here, folks. Hold on 1 second, and we'll get this fixed.
Here we go.
And we're
All right.
back. I was doing my best. We're having technical difficulties,
Okay.
WWE style.
That's funny. I'm over here talking to myself. But yes, you were. I tried to pause the. I tried to pause the
Yeah.
recording.
So
But you were saying how
my
would you rank?
my list of importance from 1 to 4.
Yeah.
I would say starting pitching 1, bullpen 2, defense 3, and then offense. Because I think I agree with you. I think the offense is going to be okay. It's just going to be a different type of offense. We're not going
Yes.
to be
Yeah.
relying on the home run all the time.
Right. No, I agree. I think that's kind of the way it's gonna play out at the end of the day. All right. I'm so curious to get your take on this next thing. Who do we think? I had a question here about who do we think 3 players that we think are going to be keys that are really going to determine this team's success in 2026. And I feel like we might have some similar guys here. Why don't you go? We'll do. You go first. I'll go with my first one. Two. We'll
Okay.
go back and forth like that. Who do you have as one guy that might be really determine the success this year?
So my first, I kind of cheated a little bit. So my first and my third is a combination 2 guys.
Okay, that's
My
fine.
my first one, and I just made it a combo as 2 guys from what we last talked about. My first guy is Mark Vientos slash Brett Beatty.
That's very fair.
Because are we gonna get the Mark Vientos that carried us in the postseason a couple years ago? That had that good regular season and had a great postseason? Or are
Yes.
we gonna get the Mark Vientos that went down a couple notches last year? Um, Same thing with Beatty. Beatty, I feel like he looked better as the season went on last year. Hopefully that continues. But again, these are 2 guys that at this point in time either are either going to be platooning for DH or they don't have a position
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Vientos ain't going to play third, and you're gonna you sign Polanco to play first.
Right.
So where's Vientos playing? He's got to be DH. Beatty, same thing. Unless you're gonna put him at right and start Carson Bench in the minors, and then Beatty is a whole new position for him.
Hmm.
So it's like that to me is one of the keys, that Mark Vientos Brett Beatty combination.
Yeah. A whole new position, and we're talking about fucking run prevention,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
to my point. You know,
yeah.
I mean, like, what are we doing here? Listen, there really should only be one guy in this list, and I'm gonna keep on saying it over and over again until he shows me something, and that is Francisco Alvarez. I mean,
Oh my
I don't.
god.
I just like. Is he on your list as well or no?
He's not, but he
Okay,
was thought about.
yeah. It's because I it's funny because to give you guys a little sneak peek about what Larry and I talked about. Both of these, the Mets and the Yankees, each have a guy that have a lot of hype behind them, but have not necessarily lived up to the hype. For the Yankees, it's Volpe, right?
Mhm.
And for the Mets, it's Alvarez. And I think in both instances, listen, Volpe's going to start the season on the IL. He had the shoulder surgeries and a miss most of the month of April. Francisco Alvarez is healthy, right? But he also has a history of injuries, especially to his hands, which you
Mhm.
cannot have as a catcher.
No.
Okay. So this guy, let me tell you something. I'm not saying that he makes up for Alonso's home runs, but he sure can maybe make up for half of them. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
have a. I think somebody like Alvarez. I want to see a 25-90 type of year from him. I know that's a lot, but this is I'm tired of talking about this guy. You know,
I think so a year for him. I'm thinking 250, 25. I won't even go to 95. I would say 250, 25, between 75 and 80. I would say.
I that's fair. I think
Yeah,
that's fair.
yeah.
I think that's very fair. I think that you have to. We're at the point now with this guy that we have to expect big things from him. And if he doesn't produce those big things, you have to hold him accountable
But
for that.
I would also we expect big things, but I would also keep him at the bottom of the lineup.
Yes, agreed.
Don't
No,
put him batting fourth, fifth.
yes,
He's my eighth guy, seven or eight. That's it.
yeah,
Put no pressure on him because say what you want, but the Mets screwed up when they brought him up. They brought him up.
I agree. Yeah,
They brought him up because I know because I was at those games
right.
versus the Braves towards the end of the season. They
Mhm.
brought him in that important 3-game series, and he was what 21 when they brought him up. 20, I think he was
Yeah,
20. And bro, you don't do that to a rookie. I don't care how much hype he has. In a 3-game series where the division's on the line, you don't do that. And they did that to him. And I don't want to say he's been screwed up ever since, but I just think if they would have did that at the beginning of his career a little better. And sure, the injuries happen, you can't control those. He needs to stay healthy though. He's gotta play 125, 130 games.
I agree. And please don't slide into second base head first.
Yeah.
protect those protect those hands.
Mhm.
Sir, your second player here.
My second guy is Luis Roberts. I was gonna say Willie Mays.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
um, yeah, Luis Roberts, because again, going back to is he going to put up the 2023 numbers? I don't know if you have his numbers from 2023 up, but
Look him up. Let me look him up while you're
that was a
talking.
good year for this kid. And if he could go back to that or even close to that, the Mets are going to have a good year.
By the way, it's Robert, not with an S.
Oh, excuse me, Luis Robel, Luis Robel. I'll do it some Spanish. Um,
Uh,
yeah.
okay, so
So
23, he was an all-star, right? Um, he finished where am I going here?
I
He
think he hit like
hit
33 home runs.
38 home runs. 38
38.
home runs. He hit 264, but his on base was only 315.
Mm,
That's not gonna fly.
yeah.
His OPS was 857. I would just want to see a better on base percentage from him. That's all.
Mm,
His career on base is 313. So
mm.
not great.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, if he could get back to those 2023 numbers,
Sure.
then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then
Fair.
the trade was a steal, honestly, because Acuna, as much as I liked him as a player, I think he's very limited as a player. Now
Hmm.
he may prove me wrong this year and become great, but I just think that the Mets already saw what they had in him. He was a good glove and a good speed, and that's all he
Yeah.
had. His
Yeah.
bat is nowhere near his brother, so he's
Yep.
not going to be that. So I just think if this pans out to where Robert potential is, um, I think so. There again, going back to those videos, I already saw him and Soto
Oh,
hanging
yes,
out.
I saw that too. Yes.
so maybe Soto puts him under his wing and be like, "Hey, bro, this I need you in the gym at 5 a.m. with me every day."
Right.
Who knows? Maybe this is a key acquisition.
I I think if I'm not mistaken, he's under contract through next year as well. So I think that's why it would be a huge steal if he does produce,
Yeah.
this year and next, and we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's it. That's a good one. I think
Speaking of huge steals, did you see? I
yeah.
think I sent you guys this video when the White Sox general manager was talking about Acuna,
Yeah.
and he kept saying he's a switch hitter four
Yes.
different times. Like, dude, do you know
That's
your team?
insane to me. That's insane. And did you see he tried to backtrack
No, I
A few
didn't.
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, what did he say? He said something to the effect of, "Oh yeah, I'm so excited about him that he does all these different things, and I just thought that he was a switch hitter." So,
Oh, great. Yeah.
bro, I don't know what's dude. I don't. And then we wonder why the White Sox are in the position they are year in
Holy
and year
crap.
out.
Yeah. It's funny because I started to think, I was like, maybe he confused them with Ronald Acuna Jr., but Ronald Acuna Jr. isn't a switch hitter either.
Right? Yes. It's insane. Holy shit. Um, I'm gonna say my second guy is Devin Williams.
Mm.
And he said it today. I think it was yesterday or today. He's not Edwin Diaz, right? He's not. Um, I think in some ways he has a lot to prove because of what happened last year in the Bronx, because he got off to that horrible start. And I know we were all making fun of him because it was the Pete Alonso hangover,
Mm.
from what happened in the playoffs the previous year. I get that. He lost his closer position. Uh, Yankees ended up trading for Bednar. Um, but listen, the Mets ain't going anywhere if this guy can't close out games on a consistent basis.
No.
And the problem is if he fails, then what? Then what
Mhm.
do you do? So he's definitely a guy that is going to be a key cog here, and I'm just curious to see how things play out in spring training. I think it's funny because I usually don't watch a lot of spring training games, right? I just don't. I'll probably be watching more than usual this year because I'm curious about how some of these guys are going to pan out, being out of position.
Mhm.
Williams being the new closer, Benj, Robert. I want to see how these guys, Polanco. I'm curious to see how this is all going to play out. So I'll probably watch more spring training games than usual this season. But any thoughts on Devin Williams?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I talked about it earlier where Edwin Diaz was, the saving grace in that bullpen. Put him in the eighth, put him in the ninth, whatever the case may be. I mean, even in that last game, they brought him in the sixth inning. Was it?
Hmm.
I can't remember. Um,
Yes,
so,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
Edwin Diaz. When we were talking about our all-time Mets team, he was both our closers. So he, the expectations are really high. So we just hope Devin Williams get off to a good start because if he
Yes,
doesn't,
right.
boy, it's not gonna be
That's
good.
exact. Yeah, that's a great point. I want to see what he does in April. Well, technically March. The season starts next month, which is crazy. What he does early on, and then kind of go from there. So
Mhm.
we shall see, sir. I know your third thing is going to be a combo situation. So what do you got?
So my third is a combination of David Peterson and Sean
Mm,
Manaea.
that's
And,
good.
and the reason I
Good
say that
choice.
is, again, we talked about the Peralta McLean. I'm glad they got Peralta, so less pressure on McLean. But what's the next two, three, or four guys after that? So Peterson, at one point last year, he looked amazing, and
Yep.
then he just crapped the bed and
Yep.
was horrendous the rest of the
He
year.
hit he hit a wall.
He definitely hit a wall. So you got two lefties in that starting rotation. Manaya had a good first year for us, terrible the second year. So he looked like he came in better shape this year. He doesn't look as big. So hopefully that transition that helps, whatever the case may be, to him stay healthy. So I'm looking at, if you're looking at the starting rotation, I'm thinking it's Peralta, McLean, Peterson, Clay Holmes, Manaya, and then Senga because I think they're gonna go with a six-man rotation.
You think they're gonna go 6 man? Okay,
I think
interesting.
I think they are because just to keep Senga in that rotation. I think they're gonna do it.
And I think the other thing too, it'll help with McLean,
Yes, that too.
and not really, listen, for as much as we complain about pitch counts and not letting guys throw innings and stuff like that, the Mets are gonna be careful with McLean. That's
Yeah.
just the bottom line. So,
And think about it.
no,
You still Clay Holmes. This is only his second year being a starter too.
right, right. That's
So
true.
I, I'm It's funny. So I bring up Senga. So it's funny how we've bent over backwards so much to make Senga comfortable. You know,
Yes. Right.
we
Yeah.
for his routine, we give him a 6-man rotation, and then they because they say, oh, because when they come out of Japan, that's what they're used to.
Right.
Meanwhile, Yamamoto is pitching every other day in the playoffs, dominating.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
don't tell
Yeah.
me that's what they're used to in Japan. Give me a break. All right. Senga is just needs to prove himself big time this year.
Bro, I don't I just and I sent that little clip asking Lee J's thoughts because Mendoza felt that Senga was looking good during
Yeah.
spring training. He seems different, but it's just like, how many times are we going to
Yeah.
do this with him? Here's the thing too. Like to your point about the pitching, the Mets have depth right now
Mhm.
because Jonah Tong is not going to start the season in AAA. Christian Scott's looking pretty good right now, and everybody can like kind of forgot about that dude, right? He missed all of last year with with the Tommy John surgery. So
Mhm.
there are options right now, and I think if somebody like a Mania falters and somebody like a Peterson falters, I think you got to bring one of these guys up, and
And,
just see. Yeah,
yeah, no, I agree, and hopefully it's those two guys that you mentioned because what I hated
right,
over the years is that the Mets would have a problem in their bullpen or in their starting rotation, and they'll
hmm
bring up a guy that you never heard of
right, yeah,
to spot start a
exactly,
couple of starts. It's like,
yeah,
bro, you got
yeah,
you got these rookies there that are dominating.
yeah,
Bring those guys up.
exactly,
So
yeah.
hopefully it's that if those guys do struggle or get hurt, Tong and Scott are one of the guys they call up.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be the case because I think Scott's ready. Like he's ready. Like
Mhm.
he's going to go through the paces in spring training. There was a video today. He struck out Juan Soto. Everybody's like losing their shit over that. It's like, guys, calm down. The pitchers are usually ahead of the batters at this point.
Yeah.
Like let's relax. Um, Godly, I'm gonna. There's something I want to say about that, but we'll get to it in a few here. Um, oh man, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Clay Holmes.
Mm.
Because and you just brought it up, I kind of do want to see how he handles year two. Listen, for as much shit as we all gave, especially Lee J, about not getting out of the fifth inning or whatever, not getting to the sixth inning, he didn't have a terrible year last year.
That was
When you
decent.
yeah, it was for his first years being a starter full time, it was not terrible. I do feel like though he needs to build off of that. He's not the ace anymore,
Mm.
right? Not even by a fucking long shot. That falls on Peralta, and even to me, it's Peralta's one, and McLean is 1A as far as I'm concerned. So there's not that pressure on him, but I still feel like you've got to build off of last year, and you got to go more than 6 innings, and I go more than 5 innings, and that goes for everybody in this fucking rotation.
Mm.
There has to be, and I guess that can go into the biggest concern for me. Guys gotta go sick. Get into the sixth inning. Because we can't get to a situation where last year Brazabon's arm
Oh
basically
God.
fell off at the end of the year, you know? So
Yeah.
like that, I think my biggest concern is basically these guys having length in the starting rotation
Yeah.
and getting into the sixth inning and the seventh inning on a consistent basis. I understand this is a baseball wide problem because if you look at the stats, nobody's really doing it except for guys like Scooble and Yamamoto and dudes like that. But they have to shorten the game for the bullpen at the end of the day. So
And
yeah,
that's my only concern about Peralta because
yeah,
Peralta is a 5-6 inning guy.
yeah, right. Yes.
And normally you want your ace to go 7-8.
7, 8, right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if your ace isn't pitching 7 or 8 innings, you shouldn't. I mean, you're gonna have to get it somewhere else, man. Who
No,
knows?
it's I agree. Any concerns for you? Is there a big concern that that's gonna be have your what you're gonna have your eye on in the spring?
In the spring,
Yeah.
um, It's hard because I want to say starting pitching, but in the spring you
Mhm.
don't really know. You can't tell.
Yeah, you can't.
You
Yeah.
can't. But it's always going to be the pitching for me. It's
Mm.
it's something that pitching. The old adage, pitching and defense wins championships, bro. It's the absolute truth. I don't care how good your offense is. A good pitching staff can shut down a good offense. So if I don't, I'm not going to say they're going to be. I don't expect them to be the number one starting pitching staff, but be up there, to give us a chance, so we don't have to go with the nonsense that we went through last year, where
Right.
every guys are going 4 innings and you're praying that Brazaban's arm doesn't fall off. So, I I, I think pitching is going to be the key moving forward. But again, that's something that you can't notice in the spring training.
Yeah, and I think maybe looking at it ahead for going into the season, I think one thing I don't want to see, particularly from Stearns, is because what did we say last year when the pitching was struggling? Where the fuck are these kids,
Mhm.
right? Why are these top prospects not being called up? And by the time McLean and Tong were called up, it was kind of already it was kind of already too late in some respects, and then B, there was this immense pressure
Yeah,
on those guys to perform. And let's face it, let's be real. McLean handled it a lot better than Tong did. Tong was not ready at the end of the day.
yeah.
We
And
we know that. Yeah,
Sproat looked a little better, but then we traded him.
yeah, right, exactly. Well, yeah, and I'm not even mad at that. But
Yeah, I mean, either.
um, you know, uh, you've got a workhorse in McLean. Tongues goes. That's another guy I'll be looking at spring training very closely to see how kind of because he knows he's not going to start, barring an injury.
Mhm.
He's not going to be going with the club to
Yeah,
Queens
yeah.
in at the end of March. So I'll be curious to see how things play out for him. Um, during spring training.
Mm.
Now, here's a question for you. And this came, and I know I complained about this privately to Eric earlier today because we're in a day and age where there's video all over the place, right? We're seeing guys coming in, they got the wrong bag, people are losing their shit about it. Fucking Soto's like, coming in with cornrows now. Everybody's just looking at everything, over analyzing everything. I mentioned earlier Christian Scott struck out Juan Soto. Juan Soto coming off the field with Carson Bench. Juan Soto chilling with Alvarez. Lindor, Beltran, and somebody else watching Juan Soto take batting practice. It's like, bro, it's too much.
Yeah.
But something did catch my eye today. And I thought to myself, oh man, here we go. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a video of Carlos Beltran and Steve Cohen just chilling,
Mm.
just talking, just watching some pitchers warming up. And I thought to myself, that's the next manager right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, remember, he was going to be the next manager anyway.
Right.
When
Yes.
this
Yes.
whole white Astro scandal came out,
Yes.
they
Right.
they changed
Right.
their mind. So, I,
Here,
I'm
let me ask you a question though. Let me ask you
yeah,
the question.
yeah.
Do you think if this shit goes left quickly,
Mhm.
right? Let's say we get to June 1st and things are not looking great.
Mm.
Is Carlos Beltran the manager of this team come June 1st? If things don't go the right way.
I'm shit. I don't even want to think that way, but
I know, no, I know. I know. No, I agree. I completely agree.
I almost think that they. I wouldn't say June, like in the middle of the year. I think he would be the new manager starting the following year.
Okay.
Give him a fresh start. Um, but I also think it just I don't know, man, because if you would have told me a couple years ago when he was set to be the manager, it made sense.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, he works for the Mets as I don't know exactly what his role is with the Mets,
Let me
but
look it up. Yeah, go ahead. Keep talking.
and he just made the Hall of Fame. So it's like, if you're Beltran, do you want to do that?
That's true. That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? Because they always say how, you don't want that to end bad. All this good karma now about Beltran finally, getting in the Hall of Fame, may get his number retired. The fans are finally turning, saying, okay, he was a good Met. And
Hmm.
then you come in to be a manager, you better be successful, man, or else it's gonna all go back downhill again.
So here's the thing. He is a special assistant to the Mets, to
Mhm.
um to David Stearns.
Okay.
He's had this position now for 3 years. This happened in the February of 2023.
Mm.
So good old Google AI overview. This is what Google AI overview says. I cannot be held responsible for whether this is accurate or not. But he acts as a front office advisor, obviously. He works closely with the front office, providing input on team development and strategy. He's focusing on player mentorship. I think we're seeing that. We saw him hanging out with Beltran today, or it was it yesterday during batting practice. He's become more visible. We see him
Mhm.
more. He travels with the team apparently as well. I don't know, man. Here's the thing. This is what I think is going to happen, and this is not even a thing with whether Beltran's going to be a manager or not. To your point about, would they have him be the manager during the middle of the season? Here's the thing. I don't think that Stearns is going to give Mendoza the rope to finish out the season,
Mhm.
because I do think if this goes left within the first 8, 12 weeks of the season, I think Mendoza's gone. I really do, because here, and the reason why I say that, I
I
think
think
it's
so
pretty
too.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. They got rid of the whole fucking coaching staff.
Mhm.
And Mendoza did not have, I don't think, and I could be wrong, and somebody can correct me. I don't think Mendoza had any say in who they hired
I agree.
for. Yeah, this is not a John Harbaugh situation where they fucking bent over backwards now, and now you've got Joe Shane cleaning bathrooms, basically. You
Basically.
know, it's true though. So
Yeah.
I don't think Mendoza's ass is hot right now. Let's
Oh,
just put it
definitely.
that way.
Yeah. I definitely think his ass is hot. I just don't think it would be Beltran to replace him. I think it would be one of these young coaches that they hired. One, I forgot the name of the guy that he's supposed to be like the guru of offense or whatever, the
Yeah,
hitting
yeah,
coach
yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah. The hitting
Um,
coach, dude.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be one of those guys because Stearns obviously has more manipulation, with the analytics.
Hmm.
I honestly think I see Beltran more as a GM than I do a
Interesting.
manager. I could see him, if things go awry with Stearns, being the new GM.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I trust. I don't know if I would trust Beltran in that role. Um, I don't know though. I do think he would be somebody who would combine the old school with the new
Mhm.
school much better than any of these current guys that we see now.
Yeah.
Um,
I also think just if you think about having a Hall of Famer as a general manager of a team, that could go bad or good.
right.
It could go good when you're talking to players because he he holds that respect.
Hmm.
Um, Now I don't know how his negotiating skills are, but
Right. Well,
that's the
that's why
thing
you have
where
other
you say
people for that.
that's
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see him. He's definitely going to garner the respect of players, whether he be a manager or a general manager. So I don't know. For some reason, if you'd have told me 2 3 years ago, I would have said the manager. But
Hmm.
now, I mean, he's been in that role with the Mets for going on 3 years now. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure he's picked up a thing or two. Beltran's a smart dude, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. By the way, technically the Mets don't have a GM because Stearns is the president of baseball operations.
Yeah.
And there's no so I mean they could if they wanted to, they could actually make Beltran the GM
Mhm.
now if they wanted to, because technically that role is not it's open. So, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Stearns said last year that they're not going to actually fill that position. Oh, it was Cohen. One of the two actually said that. Yeah, it's we know Stearns is the one that's making the deals and all that other shit. So, yeah, I'll listen. The first spring training game is on Saturday. I forget who they're playing, but I can't believe we're talking about spring training games on Saturday. Holy shit. And guess
Mm.
what? There might be 6 to 8 inches of snow up here this weekend.
Oh,
So
jeez. Bro, I think
we yeah, go ahead.
maybe next year if there is a baseball season. And
Oh
speaking of that,
God.
I'll ask you a
Yeah.
question. But
Yeah.
maybe we should do a trip to Port St. Lucie one year because I've
Oh,
never
bro,
done
I've
that.
been, and I've been talking about this for years. Like next year, next year, next year.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the key to going, I think it would be like this week. You've
Hmm.
got like a few days left of like the camp stuff, and then you're down there for like a couple of games. I think
Hmm.
that's like you come in on like on a Wednesday and you stay through like Monday, and you got a couple of games in as
Hmm.
well. I got an old classmate from my elementary school days that he lives in Port St. Lucie. He's a Mets fan too, so I would definitely hit him up for like advice about where to stay and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I definitely want to do that. Okay, we are going to take a quick break, and when you hear my voice again, we will be talking to Mr. Larry Fleischer about the New York Yankees. Stick around. I'll be right back in a few moments.